Hello there and welcome to The Sleepy Professor. Tonight we're going on a peaceful journey together, drifting gently through the fascinating, quiet science of healing, the incredible system that works tirelessly inside you every second of your life. Even this very moment as you listen, trillions upon trillions of cells are wide awake inside you. They're sending signals back and forth, repairing damage, and keeping you alive with a precision so fine it rivals even the most advanced machines on Earth. Every single heartbeat is like a surge of renewal. Every breath you take fuels a chain reaction of microscopic repairs that never, ever stops. Healing isn't just what happens after you get hurt or sick. It's much more than that. It's actually an ongoing, constant process of balance and recalibration that defines what it means to be alive. If you enjoy these quiet, thoughtful journeys with us, I'd love if you'd like, subscribe, or share a thought in the comments below. Each little gesture helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, just take a breath with me. Let your eyes grow heavy. Allow your mind to relax into this moment. Let's begin. Did you know your body rebuilds itself every few years? Inside you, renewal never stops. Cells live their brief lives, serve their roles, and quietly surrender themselves to be replaced by brand new ones that carry on the work of being you. Bone cells completely renew themselves over the course of years, while the lining of your stomach is refreshed every few days. Even the surface of your skin gets replaced in a silent, steady cascade. Practically everything that forms your physical body today will one day be gone, replaced, renewed, remade. Yet amazingly, the pattern, the essence of you, remains. It's as if your body remembers its own idea, the blueprint of itself, and keeps sculpting towards it again and again, like an artist endlessly perfecting a masterpiece. This endless rebuilding isn't random chaos. No, it's rhythm. It's the very breath of biology itself, a cycle that never asks for rest. You are like a flowing river of changing cells, moving through time while somehow managing to stay whole and complete. Every heartbeat rewrites your story of survival and begins the quiet work of healing anew. Some cells, oh so special, never stop repairing the same tissues. In the hidden layers of every organ, there are tireless workers whose entire purpose is repair and renewal. These are the stem-like cells, those quiet custodians that linger in the background, patiently waiting for a signal that something has gone awry. Right in your skin, these cells replace those lost to friction and sunlight. In your intestines, they rebuild the lining that breaks down after every meal you eat. Deep inside your muscles, these cells lie dormant, silent until an injury wakes them. Once called to action, they multiply and migrate with remarkable precision, stitching new tissue into place, weaving the fabric of your healing again and again. They cycle endlessly between rest and response, between stillness and motion. Some of these remarkable cells have journeyed with you since before you were even born. They carry a perfect memory of your body's original blueprint. They gently remind every system exactly what wholeness feels like. Even when you aren't aware, these unseen caretakers are carefully restoring the body you live in, one tiny quiet repair at a time. Your skin is a master of its craft, knowing exactly how to seal itself from the inside out. When the surface of your skin is broken, a tiny storm begins beneath it. Blood races to flood the wound, clotting quickly to form a protective seal, a first line of defense. Fibroblasts, like careful builders, move inward, laying down the scaffolding made of collagen. New skin cells then crawl gently across this hidden bridge from underneath, closing the gap in slow, steady waves, until the surface meets again. This movement doesn't come from the air above, but from the tissues below. The skin mends itself from the depths outward, guided by invisible gradients of chemistry and light. Nerves and blood vessels follow, restoring sensation and warmth. What remains after this delicate choreography is a scar, a visible reminder of invisible wisdom. Even as you sleep, these same healing patterns continue in microscopic form, repairing tiny tears and everyday wear. Your skin is far more than just protection. It is an artist, knowing exactly how to paint itself whole. Your bones, often thought of as rigid pillars, are far from still. Each bone is alive and listens closely to the pressures that move through it. When you walk, lift, stretch, or even simply stand, tiny sensors called osteocytes detect where the stress is greatest. They send messages to other cells, instructing some to dissolve old minerals, while others rebuild new ones. Through this quiet communication, bones reshape themselves to perfectly fit the life you live. They thicken where you bear weight and hollow where rest is needed. Even when a fracture occurs, the same process takes over, weaving mineral and collagen until strength returns. Every healed bone remembers the forces that shaped it, carrying those memories in its very structure. This is why astronauts lose bone density in the weightlessness of space and regain it once back on Earth. Your bones are not static, they are living instruments, tuned finely to gravity and movement. They respond to every rhythm, rebuilding their music beneath your skin. Deep within your ribs hides a remarkable organ, the liver, famed as the only human organ that can truly regrow itself. It can lose a portion of its tissue yet still rebuild to full size. When damage strikes, surviving cells divide rapidly, awakened by cascades of signals that activate dormant genes. Blood vessels expand to nourish this new growth, and the liver reorganizes itself as if remembering its former shape. This power of renewal is ancient. Scientists believe it may be inherited from creatures that once could regrow entire limbs. Even when overworked, the liver never truly rests. It continues its quiet service, cleansing the blood, balancing hormones, storing energy, and orchestrating an intricate chemical symphony inside you. This remarkable capacity to rebuild speaks volumes about resilience. It is a message etched deep within your body's design. Within this soft, unassuming structure lives one of nature's clearest proofs. Healing is an art that bodies were born to master. Nerves have their own way of finding their path back after injury, following chemical trails laid out like breadcrumbs. When a nerve is damaged, cells at the broken ends release tiny chemical signals that guide the regrowth of nerve fibers. Schwann cells, lean and lantern-like, line the old pathway, lighting the way back to the muscle or skin that once received their signals. Growth happens slowly, millimeter by millimeter. As the nerve reaches across the gap toward reconnection, your brain waits patiently, sometimes for months, until sensation and movement return. The precision of this regrowth is astonishing, as if your body remembers its own map. Not every nerve regrowth journey ends perfectly, yet the effort never stops. Even when a certain connection can't be restored, neighboring nerves sometimes take over the job. Healing in the nervous system is a true story of persistence, a quiet search for reunion guided by chemistry, memory, and the deep human desire to feel again. Your blood carries tiny messengers that call for repair crews, too. Each drop of blood is far more than just a river of red cells. It is a vibrant communication network. When tissues are injured, fragments of broken cells release molecular distress signals. Platelets detect these signals and rush to form a clot that stops the bleeding, but their role doesn't end there. Platelets release a cascade of chemical messages that summon white blood cells, growth factors, and proteins, all essential players in rebuilding damaged tissue. Some of these messengers even travel to distant organs, preparing them for the task of repair. This bustling choreography happens in moments, faster than you can think. So while you rest, your circulatory system doesn't just deliver oxygen to your organs, it directs a vast invisible dance of healing. Every pulse carries not only life but guidance, ensuring every part of your body knows exactly where care is needed most. Most cellular healing happens while you sleep. As you drift into deep rest, the noisy, conscious world begins to fade away, but inside your body, a biological world awakens. Growth hormone surges through your bloodstream, instructing cells to divide and repair. Muscles knit torn fibers back together. Your immune system reviews the day's battles, marking intruders and storing memories. Even your brain joins in the process, performing its own type of housekeeping, washing away the chemical clutter of thought through gentle waves of cerebrospinal fluid. This nightly restoration is truly one of nature's oldest rituals. Without it, small wounds would linger, stress would build, and clarity would begin to dim. Sleep isn't simply a pause in life. It's a secret workshop that opens only when you let go. Each night, your body performs millions of unseen miracles. DNA is repaired, inflammation calmed, hormones balanced, and the very rhythm of your heart reset. The deeper you rest, the stronger your body's healing grows. As you close your eyes, your cells shift silently from survival mode to renewal, working through the darkness to bring you back to the light of health. Even your DNA carries a built-in toolkit for repair. Every moment, day or night, strands of DNA inside your cells suffer damage from sunlight, toxins, or even the simple act of breathing. Yet most of the time, these breaks are short-lived. Specialized enzymes patrol the double helix like diligent caretakers, spotting errors and stitching the genetic code back together. Some enzymes fix single letters of the genetic script, others rebuild entire segments. This molecular craftsmanship happens millions of times each day, quietly and invisibly, without you ever even noticing. When repair succeeds, the cell continues its life uninterrupted. When it fails, systems awaken to recycle or replace that cell entirely. The body views damaged DNA not as disaster, but as a call to adapt and restore. This quiet, precise care is part of why life endures, no matter the constant onslaught of change. Deep inside every cell, evolution has left you a resilient toolkit to ensure even your genetic story knows how to heal. Sunlight also plays a vital role in triggering your body's natural healing rhythms. Morning light is far more powerful than just warmth or brightness, it's a signal. When sunlight touches your eyes and skin, it resets the body's clock, synchronizing hormones that control sleep, metabolism, and recovery. Ultraviolet light helps your skin produce vitamin D, which in turn strengthens bones and supports immune balance. The light also reaches your brain, influencing serotonin levels, lifting your mood and stabilizing your nervous system. But there's a balance to be struck. Too little sunlight slows healing, too much can harm. Our biology evolved in harmony with the rising and setting of the sun, using its rhythms as a compass for when to grow, rest, and repair. Every morning, standing in gentle sunlight quietly tells your body that life continues. Cycles persist. Healing is a daily ceremony written in light. Wounds have memory too. Deep within your skin's layers, a faint trace lingers. When an old wound site gets injured again, surrounding cells respond faster than before, as if the tissue remembers how it healed previously. Immune cells move with greater speed, stem cells awaken sooner, and blood vessels begin forming without hesitation. Scientists believe the body stores information about past injuries, leaving a biological trace that primes the area for future repair. Even scars may hold these memories, shaping how new tissue forms in their place. Healing isn't just reaction, it's adaptation, a carefully learned rhythm refined through experience. The body grows wiser each time it mends, carrying forward lessons of resilience. In its quiet language, every healed wound is a teacher, showing the next one how to find its way back to wholeness. But stress can quietly interfere. When stress lingers too long, healing begins to falter. The body floods itself with cortisol, a hormone designed to prepare you for danger, not recovery. Blood flow shifts toward your muscles instead of your skin and digestion, leaving wounds and organs starved of the nutrients they need. Inflammation rises when it should calm, and immune cells lose their precision. Chronic stress even disrupts your body's timing, throwing off the daily rhythm of hormone release that guides cellular repair. Healing slows down in subtle but noticeable ways, like a song played just a bit off tempo. Fortunately, calmness restores balance. Deep breathing, laughter, and rest reset the signals, allowing the chemistry of repair to resume smoothly. Beneath every stressful day lies the potential for renewal, waiting only for your body to feel safe enough to begin again. When you laugh, your whole body becomes an orchestra of restoration. Muscles release tension, the diaphragm massages internal organs, and your heart rate rises briefly before settling into a steady, soothing rhythm. Your brain floods with endorphins, natural chemicals that ease pain and foster calm. Immune cells respond too, increasing in number and activity. Blood vessels expand, improving circulation to every corner of your body. That light, joyful sound of laughter may seem delicate, but its effects reach deeply, touching your chemistry, emotions, and energy all at once. Even short bursts of laughter can reduce stress hormones that delay recovery. The body treats joy as medicine and humor as a spark of renewal. When laughter is shared, it amplifies the effect, synchronizing heartbeats and breath between people. In that fleeting harmony, healing becomes not just biological, but social. The science of recovery is not always silent or still. Tears, too, play their part. Every tear that falls is more than salt and water. Within them flows lysosome, an enzyme capable of breaking down the cell walls of harmful bacteria. This natural defense coats your eyes, keeping them clear and protected against the world's constant exposure. Emotional tears differ from those caused by irritation. They carry traces of stress hormones, helping your body release chemical tension through the simple act of crying. As tears roll down your cheeks, they carry not only emotion but biochemistry away from your body, creating a subtle, soothing sense of relief. Though crying is often seen as vulnerability, it is in fact a precise self-regulating mechanism. Your body uses it to cleanse, balance, and guard itself. Even something as soft as a teardrop reveals a profound truth. Emotion and immunity are woven together, and healing often begins only when we learn to let something go. Your gut lining replaces itself every few days too. The digestive tract is lined with cells that live brief, intense lives. Bathed in acid, enzymes, and trillions of bacteria, they endure one of the harshest environments in your body. To survive, this lining renews itself rapidly every few days, creating a fresh surface capable of absorbing nutrients while keeping harmful invaders out. Stem cells at the base of microscopic folds divide quickly, sending new cells upward to replace those that have finished their duty. As the old cells slough away, your gut remains intact, continuous, and remarkably resilient. This constant rebuilding protects not only digestion but also immunity, since much of your body's defense network resides in your gut. When the balance is lost, fatigue and inflammation can follow, but even then, your gut begins rebuilding almost immediately. In this constant renewal, the digestive system reveals one of life's purest expressions of determination to repair itself. For centuries, the heart was thought to be an organ that never regenerates. But science has uncovered a surprising truth. Your heart can regrow a small amount of its own tissue. Deep within its muscle lie small populations of cells capable of limited regeneration. When damage occurs, these specialized cells awaken, dividing and differentiating to replace lost tissue. Though the process is slow and incomplete, it offers a remarkable potential. Adult hearts can also form new blood vessels after injury, creating subtle bypasses to maintain circulation. Exercise, rest, and emotional peace support this regeneration by improving oxygen flow and reducing inflammation. Your heart's rhythm, its tireless, endless pulse, is not just a sign of persistence, it's a sign of ongoing creation. Each beat sends signals encouraging repair throughout your cardiovascular system. The heart, the organ that never sleeps, does much more than keep you alive. It continually strives to heal itself, proving that renewal can exist even in the most tireless places of the body. When tissue is injured, new blood vessels sprout like tiny roots in a healing garden. The damaged cells send urgent calls for oxygen and nutrients, and nearby vessels release chemical signals, summoning endothelial cells. These cells migrate outward, forming thin tubes that grow into the wound like roots weaving through soil. This beautiful process, called angiogenesis, transforms patches of damaged tissue into networks of new circulation. Once connected, oxygen flows again, and the wound starts to blossom with life beneath its surface. Over time, this network stabilizes, maturing into permanent channels that will nourish the regenerated tissue for years to come. This hidden garden of capillaries shows just how deeply nature understands balance. Where there is growth, there has first been damage, and renewal follows loss. Even within every scar lies a forest of tiny vessels that once reached out for light. And so the story of healing quietly continues, one precise, miraculous moment after another. Platelets are the first responders in your bloodstream whenever your skin is broken or injured. Imagine them as the emergency crew silently cruising throughout your blood, always alert. The moment skin is breached, an invisible alarm sounds. These tiny cell fragments rush to the site, clumping together quickly to form a temporary seal that stops the bleeding. But their mission doesn't stop there. Platelets are also messengers, releasing a cascade of growth factors and chemical signals that attract immune cells, stimulate collagen production, and encourage the birth of new blood vessels. Without them, wounds would remain open and chaotic. Their timing is astonishingly precise, arriving mere seconds after injury. Long after the surface looks healed, traces of their guidance remain hidden in the molecular patterns of the tissue. In the grand orchestra of healing, these tiny fragments play the very first note, a note that sets the rhythm for every other cell to follow. Scars are collagen's way of patching the past. When the body can't perfectly restore the original tissue, it improvises. Fibroblasts rush in to lay down collagen fibers, weaving a dense fabric that closes the wound swiftly. This patch is stronger but less flexible than the original skin. Unlike normal skin, scars lack sweat glands, hair follicles, and the subtle textural details that make skin feel alive. Over time, collagen reorganizes itself, softening and aligning with the natural lines of your body. Some scars fade nearly invisible, while others remain as quiet signatures of survival, each one a compromise between speed and precision, between saving life and preserving beauty. Scars tell a story, written in tissue. They remind your body of what it has endured, and more importantly, what it has overcome. Beneath every mark lies a powerful memory, the moment your body refused to give up. Some people's skin can heal without leaving scars at all. This remarkable phenomenon, called scarless healing, is most common in newborns and rare adults. The womb, for instance, regenerates with a precision more often seen in early development than in adulthood. This process involves a balanced flow of information, rapid collagen remodeling, and perfectly synchronized cell migration. Scientists study these unique healing patterns, dreaming of a future where ordinary healing can mimic this perfection. By gently manipulating growth factors and electrical signals, researchers hope to one day unlock scarless repair, not just restoring appearance, but also function after major injuries. Each seamless wound closure whispers of an ancient blueprint hidden within us, a memory of when regeneration was effortless and healing left no trace behind. Deep breathing is a natural healing tool you carry with you always. Slow, deliberate breaths do far more than calm your mind. They send waves of mechanical and chemical signals through your entire body. These signals shift the balance of your nervous system. Heart rate slows, blood vessels widen, stress hormones begin to fall. Inside your cells, genes associated with inflammation and oxidative stress quiet down, while those linked to repair and energy metabolism become more active. Oxygen levels rise, energizing mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses fueling every act of recovery. Over time, this simple rhythm of inhaling and exhaling rewires your body's chemistry toward healing. Ancient practices like meditation and yoga understood this long before science measured it. Every breath is both a messenger and a medicine, quietly shaping the state of your cells with each gentle expansion of your lungs. Even your brain has the remarkable ability to rewire itself after injury. Neurons connect through vast networks, but these connections are not fixed. When damage occurs, neighboring cells create new connections to take over lost functions. This incredible capacity, called neuroplasticity, allows your brain to adapt, reorganizing itself to preserve movement, memory, and emotion. Even after severe trauma, your brain's structure remains fluid, guided by activity and repetition. Therapy, learning, and sensory experiences help strengthen new pathways. It's as if the brain redraws its own map whenever the landscape changes. This process can take months or years, but it continues throughout your life. Every time you learn a new skill or overcome a mental challenge, neuroplasticity is at work. Healing in the brain isn't about replacing what was lost, it's about finding new routes for life to flow through. Within this quiet flexibility lies one of biology's most hopeful truths. Our memories, too, can be transformed by emotional healing. Memories are not frozen photographs, they are reassembled each time they're recalled. When your emotions or understanding shifts, memories themselves can change. Therapy, reflection, and new experiences soften the impact of painful recollections by altering the chemical patterns inside your brain. This process doesn't erase your history, it reframes it. The amygdala, hippocampus, and prefrontal cortex work together to update old stories with new meaning. Emotional healing becomes a physical process, reshaping neural connections and reducing the stress signals that ripple through your entire body. It becomes possible to remember without reliving pain, to hold your past without being held by it. Healing then is not forgetting but transforming, turning wounds of the mind into wisdom. Each time your brain revisits a painful memory with compassion, it rebuilds itself in a gentler, kinder form. And hope, the powerful spark of belief in recovery, can shift hormone levels toward regeneration. Hope influences the release of dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, all vital for immune balance and cellular repair. When you anticipate healing, your nervous system relaxes, circulation improves, inflammation eases. Researchers have seen how patients with strong hope often recover faster, not by magic, but through measurable shifts in hormones and brain chemistry. Hope quiets fear, one of the greatest obstacles to recovery. It reminds your body that effort is worth making, that energy should be spent on rebuilding rather than retreating. Even the tiniest spark of expectation can trigger a cascade of physiological change. Your body listens closely to what your mind believes, translating optimism into biology. Hope, in its most scientific form, is a biological signal urging you to keep moving toward life. When you meditate, your body accelerates cellular recovery after stress. As your mind rests in stillness, your body follows. Heart rate slows, breathing deepens, waves of calm energy ripple through your nervous system. Beneath the surface, measurable changes unfold. Genes linked to inflammation quiet down, while repair pathways become more active. The stress hormone cortisol drops to levels that allow tissue regeneration to proceed unhindered. Regular meditation improves sleep quality and boosts immune function, giving your body more time and resources to mend automatically. As daily practice compounds, it establishes a baseline of calm. What feels like quiet awareness is truly a physiological rebalancing. Your brain's rhythms align with your body's rhythms, bringing heart, breath, and cells into harmonious balance. In that stillness, your body rediscovers its natural tempo, the pace at which true healing unfolds. Gratitude, too, changes your body profoundly. Your heart does more than pump blood. It communicates through electric and magnetic fields that shift with your emotions. When gratitude arises, your heart rhythms become smooth and coherent. They sink into sync with your breathing and brain waves. This state improves circulation and reduces stress hormones, allowing your immune system to operate more efficiently. People who cultivate daily gratitude show lower levels of inflammation and recover better after illness or surgery. The feeling of gratitude activates your parasympathetic nervous system, signaling safety and restoration. It redirects your attention from what is missing to what endures, creating the perfect environment where growth becomes possible. Even silent appreciation for a single moment can change your body's inner weather. Your heart listens to your thoughts as surely as it listens to blood flow, and it beats differently when it senses peace. Compassion lowers the body's baseline of cortisol, the hormone of alertness and stress. While cortisol prepares you for challenge, too much becomes corrosive. Acts of compassion, whether offered or received, reduce cortisol and promote healing. When empathy engages, your brain releases oxytocin, a hormone that counteracts fear and tension. Blood pressure decreases, digestion improves, your immune system becomes more responsive. Compassion creates a physiological shift towards safety, signaling your body that it can resume maintenance and repair. Even imagining kindness alone can lower your heart rate and increase feelings of warmth. Healing is often not solitary. It begins through the simple recognition of shared humanity. Through compassion, chemistry becomes connection, and the biology of care transforms into the science of recovery. Now, let's take a closer look at the incredible role your immune system plays in the healing process. When you get injured, it's not just about blood clotting and tissue repair. Your immune system leaps into action as one of the very first responders, guiding the complex dance of recovery at every stage. The healing process from injury or wound typically unfolds in overlapping phases, and the immune system is deeply involved in each one. It begins with hemostasis, the body's way of stopping bleeding. Platelets rush to the site, quickly forming a plug that seals the wound. But these platelets are also chemical messengers, releasing signals that call for backup, activating fibroblasts, the body's builders, and recruiting immune cells like neutrophils and macrophages. These immune cells are the body's cleaners and guards. Neutrophils arrive early, like a squad swiftly clearing out debris and fighting invading microbes. They use a variety of weapons, antimicrobial peptides, enzymes, and reactive oxygen species, to neutralize threats and prepare the wound for healing. Next come the macrophages, which act as master coordinators. They clean up dead cells and cellular debris, help recruit more repair cells, and release growth factors to stimulate tissue regeneration. Macrophages are vital not just for cleanup, but for switching your body into repair mode. The immune response is carefully balanced. It needs to be strong enough to contain infection and clear damage, yet precise enough to avoid excessive inflammation that can slow healing or cause scarring. Within the wound site, a symphony of chemical signals, cytokines and growth factors, coordinate the arrival and activation of cells necessary for rebuilding tissue. Vascular endothelial growth factor, VEGF, for example, promotes the formation of new blood vessels, bringing oxygen and nutrients critical for recovery. Your immune system's remarkable plasticity allows it to shift between promoting inflammation to fight infection and encouraging tissue repair and regeneration as healing progresses. This balance is essential because prolonged inflammation can lead to chronic wounds, while too little immune activity can leave wounds vulnerable. This well-orchestrated interplay between immune cells and chemical signals ensures that tissue repair advances systematically through the phases of inflammation, proliferation of new cells, and remodeling to restore function. The immune system doesn't just fight threats, it actively participates in restoring balance, weaving together defense and repair as two sides of the same biological coin. Understanding these processes opens the door to better treatments for chronic wound diseases and injuries that don't heal well. So as you can see, healing is never just a passive event. It's an active, dynamic process driven by the extraordinary collaboration between cells, hormones, and immune defenses working tirelessly to restore your body. Your body's defenses are not only about fending off invaders, but also about making sure the tissues within you regenerate smoothly and completely. Through this invisible, continuous effort, your immune system is truly the unsung hero of healing, a vigilant protector, a skilled repairer, and a remarkable coordinator of life's resilience. Healing is a beautiful, intricate dance that your body performs in 4 overlapping, continuous phases. Each one builds upon the last, creating a seamless process that restores balance and health. Let's explore these stages together. The first phase is called hemostasis. Imagine it as your body's emergency lockdown system kicking in immediately after injury. The moment a blood vessel is damaged, it constricts to reduce blood flow, a natural way to prevent excessive bleeding. Simultaneously, platelets, those tiny, vigilant cell fragments, rush to the scene and begin forming a clot, sealing the wound like nature's own bandage. This rapid response transforms your blood from a liquid into a gel-like clot, playing a crucial role in stabilizing the injury site. The clot not only stops bleeding, but also creates a temporary matrix, a scaffold for cells to arrive and start the repair process. Without hemostasis working perfectly, healing can't even begin. Next comes the inflammatory phase. It's the body's version of a cleanup crew and security detail, working hard to prepare the way for rebuilding. This phase begins almost immediately, as white blood cells pour into the wound site. They start by blasting away bacteria, damaged cells, and debris to make the environment safe again. You might see some swelling, redness, warmth, and feel tenderness at the wound site during this phase. These are signs of your immune system working. Inflammation is vital, but it's a delicate balance. It must be strong enough to clear threats, but not so strong that it causes more harm. This is why controlling inflammation matters so much in recovery. As inflammation winds down, the body transitions to the third phase, proliferation. Here, the real construction begins. Fibroblasts, the body's master builders, arrive to produce collagen, a key protein that forms the scaffold for new tissue. New blood vessels form through a process called angiogenesis. They weave a new network to bring oxygen and nutrients to the growing tissue. The wound starts filling with granulation tissue, a fresh, pinkish tissue rich with new blood vessels. Skin cells begin migrating across the wound, gradually sealing the surface until it's protected once more. During this phase, your body is essentially working like a construction site, rebuilding walls, plumbing, and roof, all delicately coordinated. Finally, healing enters the remodeling phase, where the newly formed tissue gains strength and flexibility. Collagen fibers reorganize, aligning more naturally along the lines of tension in your body. This phase can last weeks to months, depending on the wound's size and depth. It's a time of refinement, where your body slowly restores the wound site to resemble the original, healthy tissue as closely as possible. Patience is key here because although the surface might look healed quickly, true strength and resilience take time to develop. Throughout all these stages, your immune system isn't simply fighting invaders, it's an active collaborator in every step of repair. Its cells and signals guide repair and regeneration, ensuring the process is not just about closing a wound, but restoring function and integrity to your body. Healing is a complex masterpiece of biological coordination, signaling, and renewal, an ongoing reminder of the incredible resilience built into your very being. The immune system plays a vital, ongoing role in each stage of wound healing, acting as both a defender and a facilitator of repair. The process is highly coordinated and involves a cascade of immune responses designed to protect the body and restore tissue integrity. Initially, during the hemostasis phase, platelets arrive first at the injury site. They help form blood clots to stop bleeding, but also secrete important signaling molecules like TGF-beta1 and PDGFs, which activate fibroblasts and recruit immune cells such as neutrophils and macrophages. These immune cells are critical for the subsequent phases of healing. Have you ever stopped to wonder what really happens when you get a cut or scrape? Most of us just slap on a bandage and move on, trusting that our body will magically fix itself. But beneath that bandage, something truly remarkable is happening, a complex, coordinated effort by your immune system to heal and restore what was broken. Let's start at the very beginning. The moment your skin is injured, your body doesn't hesitate. It immediately jumps into action like an emergency response team. The first thing that happens is hemostasis, your body's way of stopping the bleeding. Blood vessels at the wound site quickly narrow, reducing blood flow. At the same time, tiny platelets rush in and stick together, forming a plug to seal the wound. But these platelets aren't just physical barriers, they're also messengers. They release powerful signaling molecules, like TGF-beta1 and PDGF, which call in reinforcements and activate the repair crew, fibroblasts and other cells that will rebuild the tissue. As the platelet plug forms, a protein called fibrinogen transforms into fibrin, weaving a mesh that reinforces the clot. This clot isn't just a barrier, it's a communication hub, trapping and concentrating all those growth factors and chemical signals that will guide the healing process. It's like precision engineering at the molecular level, all happening automatically. Now the second phase kicks in, inflammation. This might sound negative, but it's actually a vital part of healing. White blood cells, especially neutrophils, flood the area. These are the first responders, equipped with antimicrobial proteins, enzymes, and reactive oxygen species to kill bacteria and clear away debris. They also release cytokines, which recruit more immune cells, macrophages, T cells, and natural killer cells to the site. Macrophages then take over. They clean up dead cells through phagocytosis, present antigens to kickstart the next immune responses, and secrete growth factors that promote tissue regeneration. A key shift happens when macrophages switch from a pro-inflammatory, M1 state to an anti-inflammatory, tissue-promoting M2 state. This transition is crucial for moving from inflammation to tissue growth. Next comes the proliferation stage. Immune cells, especially macrophages, keep producing growth factors like VEGF, which stimulate the formation of new blood vessels, angiogenesis. These new vessels supply oxygen and nutrients to the growing tissue, supporting collagen synthesis and the proliferation of skin and other cells. The immune system carefully modulates inflammation, creating the perfect environment for tissue growth while keeping infections at bay. Finally, in the remodeling phase, the immune response refines the healed tissue. Excess cells and blood vessels are removed through programmed cell death, apoptosis, and collagen fibers are realigned along tension lines for strength and elasticity. This phase can last for years, gradually restoring the tissue to a state close to its original form, though some scars may remain, mainly due to excess collagen buildup or abnormal immune responses. Throughout all these phases, immune regulation is essential. A balanced immune response clears pathogens, controls inflammation, and guides tissue regeneration. Any imbalance can lead to chronic wounds or excessive scarring. Understanding these immune mechanisms is key to developing better wound treatments and therapies, especially for wounds that don't heal properly or result in problematic scars. In essence, your immune system is the orchestrator of your healing journey, constantly regulating, cleaning, repairing, and rebuilding, ensuring your body's resilience and ability to recover from injury. The inflammatory phase, your body's controlled fire. Once hemostasis has done its job, we enter what I think is the most misunderstood phase of healing, inflammation. Now, inflammation has gotten a bad reputation in recent years. We hear about anti-inflammatory diets, anti-inflammatory medications, inflammation being linked to disease. And yes, chronic inflammation can be problematic, but acute inflammation, the inflammation that happens right after an injury, that's not your enemy, that's your savior. Think of inflammation as a controlled burn in a forest. Firefighters sometimes deliberately set small fires to clear out dead brush and prevent larger, more dangerous fires later. That's essentially what your immune system is doing at a wound site. It's creating a controlled, purposeful burst of inflammatory activity to clean, protect, and prepare the area for rebuilding. This phase typically kicks in within hours of the injury and can last up to a week. And the first responders, the first immune cells to arrive in force, are neutrophils. These cells are the Navy SEALs of your immune system. They're fast, they're aggressive, and they're highly specialized for a specific mission: seek and destroy. Neutrophils flood into the wound site by the thousands, drawn there by chemical signals released by those platelets we talked about earlier, as well as by damaged tissue itself. When cells are injured, they release danger signals, molecules that essentially scream, "Something's wrong here." Neutrophils are exquisitely sensitive to these signals. Once they arrive, neutrophils get to work with ruthless efficiency. They hunt down bacteria, viruses, any foreign invaders that might have entered through the breach in your skin. But they don't just engulf these invaders. They deploy an arsenal of weapons. They release reactive oxygen species, essentially chemical bleach that destroys bacterial cell walls. They secrete enzymes called proteases that break down proteins, dismantling anything that shouldn't be there. Neutrophils are also cleaning up damaged tissue, clearing away dead and dying cells that would otherwise become a breeding ground for infection. It's intense, aggressive work, and honestly, neutrophils don't survive long. They typically live for only a few hours to a couple of days at the wound site. They burn bright and fast, like shooting stars, doing their job and then dying off themselves, becoming part of the debris that needs to be cleared. And this is where another crucial player enters: macrophages. If neutrophils are the special forces, macrophages are the generals, the engineers, and the diplomats all rolled into one. These are perhaps the most versatile and important immune cells in the entire healing process. Macrophages start arriving at the wound within a day or two after injury, and they have a remarkably complex job. Initially, they're in what scientists call an M1 state, a pro-inflammatory configuration. In this mode, they're continuing the work that neutrophils started, hunting down any remaining bacteria, engulfing dead neutrophils and cellular debris. They're like diligent janitors with flamethrowers, cleaning up but also maintaining that protective inflammatory environment. But here's what makes macrophages truly special. They can change, they can switch gears. As the wound starts to clean up, as the infection risk decreases, macrophages transform into what's called an M2 state. This is an anti-inflammatory, pro-healing configuration. In this form, they stop being warriors and become builders and peacekeepers. M2 macrophages release completely different signals. Instead of pro-inflammatory cytokines, they secrete growth factors that encourage new blood vessel formation, that activate fibroblasts to start building new tissue, that promote the migration of skin cells to close the wound. They're actively suppressing excess inflammation, calming things down, creating the conditions for regeneration. This switch from M1 to M2 is absolutely critical. If macrophages stay in the M1 state too long, inflammation becomes chronic and healing stalls. If they switch to M2 too early, before the wound is properly cleaned and protected, infection can take hold. The timing has to be just right, and your immune system has evolved exquisitely sensitive mechanisms to make this transition at exactly the right moment. Now let me tell you about another fascinating player in this inflammatory phase: mast cells. These cells live permanently in your skin and other tissues, serving as sentinels, always watching, always waiting. When injury occurs, mast cells are among the first to respond. They release histamine, which you might know from allergy medication, but in wound healing, histamine serves a crucial purpose. Histamine causes vasodilation, the widening of blood vessels near the wound. This is why injured areas become red and feel warm. That increased blood flow brings more immune cells, more nutrients, more oxygen to the site. It's like widening the road so emergency vehicles can get through faster. Mast cells also release other molecules called cytokines and chemokines that further attract immune cells and regulate their behavior. What I find absolutely fascinating is that mast cells can communicate with nerves, creating a direct link between your immune system and your nervous system. This is part of why wounds hurt, yes, but pain serves a purpose. It makes you protect the injured area, preventing further damage while healing proceeds. The inflammatory phase is also when you see the classic signs of inflammation that doctors have recognized for thousands of years: redness, heat, swelling, pain, and loss of function. The ancient Romans called these ruba, calla, tumor, dolor, and functio lisa. Each of these signs reflects a purposeful process. The redness and heat from increased blood flow. The swelling from fluid accumulation as blood vessels become more permeable, allowing immune cells and proteins to enter the tissue. The pain from nerve stimulation and pressure. The loss of function, encouraging you to rest and protect the area. This carefully choreographed inflammatory phase usually lasts about 3 to 7 days, though it can vary depending on the size and depth of the wound, your overall health, your age, and other factors. Too little inflammation and you risk infection and poor healing. Too much or too prolonged and you get chronic wounds that refuse to close or excessive scarring. Your immune system walks this tightrope with remarkable skill, most of the time getting it exactly right. The proliferation phase, building a new foundation. As inflammation begins to settle, we transition into what I think is the most visually dramatic phase of healing: proliferation. This is when your body shifts from defense mode to construction mode. If inflammation was about protection and cleanup, proliferation is about rebuilding, about creating new tissue to replace what was lost. This phase typically begins around day 3 to 4 after injury and can last for several weeks, overlapping somewhat with the tail end of inflammation. The star players in this phase are fibroblasts, endothelial cells, and keratinocytes. Let me introduce you to each of them. Fibroblasts are the construction workers of your body. These are the cells that build and maintain the structural framework of your tissues. When a wound occurs, Fibroblasts near the injury site receive signals from all those growth factors that macrophages and platelets released. These signals activate the fibroblasts, causing them to multiply rapidly and migrate into the wound area. Once there, fibroblasts begin producing collagen, the most abundant protein in your body and the main structural component of skin, tendons, ligaments, and other connective tissues. Think of collagen as the rebar in concrete, the framework that gives tissue its strength and structure. Fibroblasts also produce other extracellular matrix proteins like elastin, which provides stretch and flexibility, and proteoglycans, which help tissues retain water and resist compression. The collagen that fibroblasts first lay down is called type III collagen. It's produced quickly and forms a loosely organized matrix, like quickly erected scaffolding at a construction site. This provides immediate structural support, but it's not the final product. Later, during the remodeling phase, much of this type III collagen will be replaced with type I collagen, which is stronger and more organized. While fibroblasts are building the structural framework, endothelial cells are creating new blood vessels through a process called angiogenesis. This might be one of the most crucial aspects of wound healing, because without adequate blood supply, nothing else can happen. Cells need oxygen to survive and function. They need nutrients to grow and build. They need a way to remove waste products. Blood vessels provide all of that. Angiogenesis is stimulated by several factors, but one of the most important is vascular endothelial growth factor, or VEGF. Macrophages secrete VEGF in response to low oxygen levels in the wound, which is common in injured tissue. Fibroblasts also produce VEGF. This molecule causes endothelial cells, which line blood vessels, to start sprouting new branches, extending tendrils into the wound like roots growing through soil. These new blood vessels are initially quite leaky and fragile, but they provide that critical blood supply. As they grow, they bring with them more immune cells, more growth factors, more of everything needed for healing. The formation of this new tissue, rich with blood vessels and fresh collagen matrix, is called granulation tissue. If you've ever looked at a healing wound and seen that pink, slightly bumpy tissue beneath a scab, that's granulation tissue. It's your body's foundation for the new skin that will eventually cover the wound. Now, while all this is happening in the depths of the wound, something equally important is happening on the surface. Keratinocytes, the cells that make up the outer layer of your skin, the epidermis, are beginning their own migration. Normally, keratinocytes are firmly anchored in place, forming tight junctions with their neighbors. But when the skin is breached, keratinocytes at the wound edges receive signals that cause them to change their behavior dramatically. They loosen their attachments to each other and to the underlying tissue. They develop finger-like projections called lamelypodia that allow them to move. They begin crawling across the wound surface, following chemical trails and using the provisional matrix of fibrin and collagen as a highway. This process is called reepithelialization, and it's how your skin closes over the wound, re-establishing that critical protective barrier. As keratinocytes migrate, they also multiply, producing new cells to replace those that were lost. Behind the leading edge of migrating cells, new skin layers begin to form, gradually rebuilding the full thickness of the epidermis. This is why wounds heal from the edges inward, why you see a closing circle of new pink skin gradually covering the wound. The proliferation phase is absolutely dependent on your immune system. Macrophages continue to patrol the area, preventing infection, but also releasing growth factors that stimulate fibroblast activity, angiogenesis, and keratinocyte migration. If macrophages are depleted experimentally in animal studies, wound healing is severely impaired, demonstrating just how central these immune cells are to the process. T lymphocytes also start to appear during this phase. While they're not as abundant as macrophages, they play important regulatory roles, releasing cytokines that modulate the behavior of other cells. Some T cells help maintain the balance between inflammation and healing. Others may help monitor for any cells that are becoming dysfunctional or precancerous, a quality control mechanism ensuring that the new tissue is healthy. The proliferation phase is a time of intense cellular activity, high energy demand, and rapid change. The wound gradually fills in with granulation tissue, the surface begins to close over, and what was once a gaping injury becomes an increasingly small defect. It's truly remarkable how quickly this can happen. Small wounds can fully reepithelialize within a week or two. Larger wounds take longer but follow the same basic process. Throughout this phase, the balance is critical. Too much proliferation, and you can get excess granulation tissue, proud flesh that rises above the level of the surrounding skin. Too little, and the wound doesn't fill in properly, healing stalls. Your immune system, particularly those macrophages we've been talking about, helps maintain this balance, adjusting signals as needed to keep things on track. The remodeling phase, perfecting the repair. And now we come to the final act in our healing drama, the remodeling phase. If proliferation was about rapid construction, remodeling is about refinement, about turning that quickly built structure into something durable and functional. This phase begins around 3 weeks after injury, but here's the thing, it doesn't end quickly. Remodeling can continue for months, even years. Some scientists believe that wound remodeling is never truly complete, that the process continues at a low level for the entire life of the scar. During remodeling, your body is essentially critiquing its own work and making improvements. Remember that type III collagen that fibroblasts laid down quickly during proliferation. Now it's being systematically replaced with type I collagen, which is stronger and more organized. This replacement doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual process of breaking down old collagen and synthesizing new collagen, constantly refining the architecture. The collagen fibers also change their orientation. Initially, they're laid down somewhat randomly, in whatever direction fibroblasts happen to be oriented. But during remodeling, these fibers reorganize themselves along the lines of mechanical tension in the tissue. If you think about the forces that your skin experiences, pulling, stretching, compression, the collagen fibers align themselves to best resist those forces. It's like how wood grain in a tree aligns with the stresses the tree experiences, or how bone remodels itself in response to the loads placed on it. This reorganization significantly increases the strength of the healed tissue. Initially, newly healed wounds have only about 20% of the tensile strength of normal skin. By the end of remodeling, they can regain up to about 80% of original strength. That's impressive, but notice, it never quite reaches 100%. Healed wounds are inherently weaker than undamaged tissue, which is why old scars can be vulnerable to re-injury. Another major change during remodeling involves blood vessels. Remember all that angiogenesis during the proliferation phase? All those new blood vessels that sprouted to supply the growing tissue? Well, many of them are no longer needed. As the wound matures and metabolic activity decreases, excess capillaries regress through a process called vascular pruning. Endothelial cells undergo apoptosis, programmed cell death, and the vessels collapse and disappear. This is why mature scars are paler than surrounding skin. They have fewer blood vessels. Fibroblasts also undergo significant changes during remodeling. Many of them transform into specialized cells called myofibroblasts. These cells are fascinating because they have characteristics of both fibroblasts and smooth muscle cells. They contain contractile proteins, allowing them to physically pull on the extracellular matrix. This creates wound contraction, a process where the wound edges are drawn closer together, reducing the size of the defect that needs to be filled. Wound contraction can be beneficial, especially for large wounds, because it reduces the area that needs to be closed by new tissue formation. However, excessive contraction can be problematic, particularly if the wound is over a joint or on the face. It can create tight, restrictive scars that limit movement or cause disfigurement. This is one reason why severe burns, which often involve extensive wound contraction, require specialized treatment. Once myofibroblasts have completed their contractile work, most of them are supposed to undergo apoptosis and be cleared away by macrophages. This is important because if myofibroblasts persist, they continue producing collagen and contracting, which can lead to hypertrophic scars or keloids, raised, thick scars that extend beyond the original wound boundary. The immune system continues to play a crucial role during remodeling. Macrophages persist in the maturing scar, though in lower numbers than during earlier phases. These macrophages have shifted to what some researchers call a fibrolytic phenotype. They're producing enzymes called matrix metalloproteinases, or MMPs, which break down collagen and other matrix proteins. This might sound destructive, but it's actually essential for remodeling. Old, disorganized collagen has to be removed so new, properly aligned collagen can take its place. There's a delicate balance between collagen synthesis and collagen breakdown during this phase. If synthesis outpaces breakdown, you get excessive scarring. If breakdown outpaces synthesis, the wound weakens and can even break down, a condition called wound dehiscence. Your immune system, through the cytokines and growth factors that macrophages and other cells produce, helps maintain this balance. The remodeling phase is also when the final appearance of the scar is determined. Several factors influence this: the location of the wound, the direction of skin tension lines, your age, your genetics, your overall health, and how well the earlier phases of healing proceeded. Some people are genetically predisposed to forming thick, prominent scars. Others heal with barely visible marks. This variability is one of the most frustrating aspects of wound healing for both patients and doctors. What's particularly interesting is that the remodeling process is influenced by mechanical forces. Wounds that are immobilized during healing tend to form thinner, less prominent scars than wounds that are subjected to constant tension or movement. This is part of why surgeons take such care with wound closure, trying to align edges precisely and minimize tension on the healing tissue. It's also why some burn victims wear pressure garments. The constant, even pressure can influence scar formation, potentially reducing thickness and improving flexibility. The immune system, master conductor of healing. Throughout this entire healing journey, from that first moment of injury through months or years of remodeling, your immune system has been there, directing traffic, making decisions, coordinating the efforts of dozens of different cell types. It's not an exaggeration to say that without your immune system, wound healing, as we know it, simply wouldn't happen. Let's think about the incredible coordination required. Platelets have to activate and release exactly the right signals at exactly the right time. Neutrophils have to arrive quickly but not persist too long. Macrophages have to switch from pro-inflammatory to pro-healing at precisely the right moment. Fibroblasts have to know when to proliferate and when to stop. Blood vessels have to grow but then regress. Collagen has to be synthesized but also broken down and reorganized. How does your body coordinate all of this? Through an incredibly complex network of cytokines, growth factors, and other signaling molecules. These are the words in the vocabulary of cellular communication, and your immune cells are fluent speakers. Let's talk about some of the key signals. Pro-inflammatory cytokines like tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukin-1, and interleukin-6 promote the inflammatory phase. They activate immune cells, increase blood vessel permeability, stimulate pain receptors. But they also serve as a signal that it's time for repair to begin. They help recruit fibroblasts and stimulate some aspects of angiogenesis. Anti-inflammatory cytokines like interleukin-4, interleukin-10, and interleukin-13 help resolve inflammation. They promote that switch of macrophages from M1 to M2 state. They suppress excessive immune activity while still allowing protective surveillance. Then there are the growth factors. We've already mentioned several: TGF-beta, PDGF, VEGF, but there are many others. Fibroblast growth factor, or FGF, stimulates fibroblast proliferation and angiogenesis. Epidermal growth factor, or EGF, promotes keratinocyte migration and proliferation. Insulin-like growth factor, or IGF, enhances protein synthesis and cell survival. Each of these molecules is produced by specific cells at specific times, often in response to other signals. It's a cascading network of communication, with feedback loops and checkpoints, redundancy and fine-tuning. The complexity is staggering, and honestly, we're still discovering new layers of regulation, new molecules and pathways that influence healing. What's become increasingly clear is that disruptions to immune function have profound effects on wound healing. Think about people with diabetes. One of the major complications of diabetes is impaired wound healing, chronic ulcers that refuse to close. Why? Partly because high blood sugar levels interfere with immune cell function. Neutrophils in diabetic patients don't respond as quickly to infection. Macrophages don't switch properly from M1 to M2 state. Angiogenesis is impaired. The entire carefully orchestrated process becomes dysregulated. Similarly, people who are taking immunosuppressive drugs after organ transplants or for autoimmune diseases often experience delayed wound healing. When you suppress immune function globally, you also suppress all those healing functions that immune cells perform. It's a necessary trade-off in some medical situations, but it highlights how central immunity is to healing. On the flip side, excessive immune activity can also cause problems. Chronic inflammatory conditions like Crohn's disease or rheumatoid arthritis are associated with impaired wound healing in some contexts and excessive scarring in others. Autoimmune diseases where the body attacks its own tissues obviously create their own healing challenges. Age also affects immune function and therefore healing. As we get older, our immune systems change in a process called immunosenescence. Older immune cells don't respond as quickly or as robustly to signals. They produce different profiles of cytokines. The result is that elderly individuals tend to heal more slowly and with more complications than young people. Understanding how aging affects immune-mediated healing is a major focus of current research, especially as our population ages. When healing goes wrong, chronic wounds and scarring disorders. Given how complex the healing process is, it's perhaps not surprising that things can go wrong. Let's talk about what happens when the healing process derails, because understanding failure helps us appreciate how remarkable normal healing really is. Chronic wounds are wounds that fail to proceed through the normal healing sequence in an orderly and timely manner. Typically, a wound that hasn't shown significant healing progress within 4 weeks, or hasn't healed completely within 3 months, is considered chronic. These wounds affect millions of people worldwide and create enormous healthcare costs, not to mention suffering for patients. What characterizes chronic wounds at the cellular level? Usually, they're stuck in the inflammatory phase. Instead of transitioning smoothly to proliferation and remodeling, they remain in a state of persistent inflammation. Neutrophils continue to infiltrate the wound. Macrophages stay in the M1 pro-inflammatory state. Pro-inflammatory cytokines remain elevated. Proteases, those enzymes that break down proteins, are produced in excess, degrading growth factors and newly formed tissue almost as quickly as it's produced. The causes of chronic wounds are varied. Vascular insufficiency, where poor blood flow prevents adequate oxygen and nutrient delivery, is common. Diabetes, as we mentioned, disrupts immune function. Repeated trauma or pressure, as in pressure ulcers, prevents healing by causing ongoing damage. Infection creates a vicious cycle where immune cells are constantly fighting bacteria instead of transitioning to healing mode. Malnutrition deprives the body of the building blocks needed for tissue synthesis. But increasingly, researchers recognize that dysregulated immune response is a central feature of most chronic wounds, regardless of the underlying cause. The wound environment in chronic ulcers is characterized by high levels of pro-inflammatory cytokines, reactive oxygen species, and proteases. It's a hostile environment where new tissue struggles to survive. One fascinating area of research involves trying to push chronic wounds out of this stuck inflammatory state. Some experimental treatments involve applying materials that absorb excess proteases. Others involve introducing growth factors or cells that can help reset the wound environment. There's even research into using electrical stimulation or negative pressure therapy to modulate immune cell behavior. At the opposite extreme from chronic wounds, we have hypertrophic scars and keloids, conditions characterized by excessive tissue formation. Here, instead of healing being stuck or slow, it's overactive. Fibroblasts continue proliferating beyond what's needed. Collagen production exceeds collagen breakdown. The result is raised, thick scars that can be itchy, painful, and cosmetically distressing. Keloids are particularly interesting because they extend beyond the boundary of the original wound, invading normal skin. They rarely regress on their own and have a frustrating tendency to recur even after surgical removal. The immune dysregulation in keloids involves persistent production of TGF-beta, which continues to stimulate fibroblasts. Macrophages in keloids seem to remain in a profibrotic state, continuing to release signals that promote collagen synthesis. There's also a genetic component to keloid formation. They're more common in people of African, Asian, and Hispanic descent, and they often run in families. This suggests that some people's immune systems and fibroblasts are simply wired to overrespond to injury. Understanding why could help us develop better treatments. Current treatments for keloids include corticosteroid injections, which suppress immune activity and reduce collagen production, silicone gel sheets, which seem to regulate hydration and possibly cytokine levels in the scar, pressure therapy, and in some cases, radiation after surgical removal to prevent recurrence. None of these treatments is universally effective, highlighting how much we still have to learn about controlling the healing process. The cutting edge, new frontiers in healing research. The more we understand about the immune system's role in wound healing, the more opportunities we see for therapeutic intervention. Let me share some of the most exciting areas of current research, because this is where science fiction starts becoming science fact. One approach involves manipulating the macrophage phenotype. Since the switch from M1 to M2 macrophages is so critical for healing progression, what if we could control that switch? Researchers are investigating various molecules that can push macrophages toward the M2 phenotype. Some of these are natural substances like certain lipids or metabolites. Others are synthetic drugs or biologics. The goal is to accelerate healing or restart stalled healing by providing the right signals to shift immune cell behavior. Another exciting area is regenerative medicine and stem cells. Your body contains mesenchymal stem cells, adult stem cells that can differentiate into various cell types including fibroblasts, bone cells, and cartilage cells. These stem cells also have powerful immunomodulatory properties, meaning they can influence immune cell behavior. When mesenchymal stem cells are placed in a wound, they can reduce excessive inflammation, promote M2 macrophage polarization, and stimulate angiogenesis and tissue growth. Clinical trials are underway testing stem cell therapies for various types of chronic wounds. Some approaches involve isolating stem cells from the patient's own bone marrow or fat tissue, expanding them in culture, and then applying them to the wound. Others involve using stem cells from donor tissue, processed to reduce the risk of immune rejection. Early results are promising, though we're still working out optimal protocols and understanding which patients are most likely to benefit. Biomaterials represent another frontier. Scientists are developing sophisticated wound dressings and scaffolds that do more than just cover wounds. These materials can be engineered to release growth factors gradually over time, providing sustained signals for healing. They can be designed to modulate inflammation, either by absorbing excess inflammatory mediators or by releasing anti-inflammatory drugs. Some materials even contain or attract specific types of cells, essentially serving as a template for tissue regeneration. One particularly clever approach involves using materials that respond to the wound environment. For example, materials that release antibacterial agents only when they detect signs of infection, or that change their structure in response to proteases, providing feedback about the wound's healing status. There's also growing interest in the microbiome's role in wound healing. Your skin is home to trillions of bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms. Most are harmless or even beneficial, and they interact constantly with your immune system. Recent research suggests that the composition of the skin microbiome can influence wound healing outcomes. Certain bacteria seem to promote beneficial immune responses, while others trigger excessive inflammation. Could we manipulate the wound microbiome to improve healing? It's an intriguing possibility. Some researchers are exploring the use of probiotics or beneficial bacteria applied to wounds. Others are investigating how to preserve the healthy microbiome during wound care rather than destroying it with aggressive antimicrobial treatments. Gene therapy is perhaps the most futuristic approach. If we could temporarily modify the genes in wound cells, we could potentially enhance their healing capabilities. For example, introducing genes that make fibroblasts produce more growth factors, or genes that make keratinocytes migrate faster. The technology for doing this safely and effectively is still being developed, but early experiments in animals have shown promising results. Another area that's receiving attention is the role of the nervous system in wound healing. We've known for a long time that nerves influence immune function, and recent research is revealing complex interactions between nerve cells and immune cells at wound sites. Neuropeptides, signaling molecules released by nerves, can modulate inflammation and influence macrophage behavior. There's even evidence that the sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response, affects wound healing rates. This has led to interest in neuromodulation approaches, things like electrical stimulation or even meditation and stress reduction techniques, to optimize the neural environment for healing. While this might sound far-fetched, there's actually good evidence that psychological stress impairs wound healing, likely through effects on the nervous system and stress hormones that then influence immune function. The broader context, healing throughout evolution. Taking a step back, it's worth considering how remarkable it is that we heal at all. Not all organisms have robust healing capabilities. Some simple animals can regenerate entire body parts. Flatworms can regrow a complete head if decapitated. Salamanders can regrow lost limbs, complete with bones, muscles, nerves, and blood vessels. But most mammals, including humans, have much more limited regenerative capacity. Why is that? It's a fascinating question in evolutionary biology. One theory is that as organisms became more complex, with more specialized tissues and tighter regulation of cell division, the ability for wholesale regeneration decreased. The same mechanisms that prevent uncontrolled cell growth and cancer may limit regeneration. It's a trade-off: better protection against tumors, less capacity for regeneration. The immune system's central role in wound healing may have evolved relatively recently in evolutionary terms. Simple organisms without adaptive immune systems still heal, but their healing is more limited and less sophisticated. The appearance of macrophages, T cells, and complex cytokine networks in vertebrates corresponds with more elaborate healing responses. Some scientists are trying to learn from animals with superior regenerative abilities. What do salamanders do differently? How are their immune responses during regeneration different from ours during healing? Could we somehow reactivate latent regenerative programs in human cells? These are questions that might sound like science fiction, but are being seriously pursued in research labs. There's also interesting variation in healing capacity among mammals. Mice and rats, commonly used in research, actually heal differently than humans in some ways. Their skin is looser and more mobile, allowing more wound contraction. They don't form hypertrophic scars the way humans do. This makes it challenging to translate findings from animal studies to human treatments, and it's one reason why many promising therapies in animals have failed in human trials. Even among humans, there's remarkable variation. Newborns and young fetuses can heal with minimal scarring, almost regenerating tissue, but this ability is largely lost by the time we're born. What changes? Part of it involves the immune system. Fetal wounds show different inflammatory responses, different cytokine profiles. Understanding what's different about fetal healing might provide clues for improving adult healing. Practical implications: what this means for you. So, after this deep dive into the biology of wound healing, what are the practical takeaways? How can understanding the immune system's role in healing help you in everyday life? First, take care of your immune system. This means the basics: adequate sleep, good nutrition, regular exercise, stress management, and avoiding smoking. All of these factors influence immune function and therefore healing. People who are sleep-deprived, malnourished, or chronically stressed heal more slowly. Smokers have significantly impaired wound healing due to effects on blood flow and immune function. Nutrition deserves special mention. Healing is metabolically expensive. Your body needs building blocks to synthesize all that new tissue. Protein is crucial because collagen, the main structural component of healed tissue, is a protein. If you're not getting adequate protein in your diet, your body literally doesn't have the materials needed to build new tissue effectively. Vitamin C is essential for collagen synthesis. Without adequate vitamin C, collagen fibers are weak and defective, leading to poor wound healing. This is why scurvy, caused by vitamin C deficiency, includes symptoms of wounds that won't heal and old scars breaking down. Vitamin A supports immune function and epithelialization. Zinc is required for protein synthesis and immune cell function. Iron is needed for oxygen transport and collagen production. The point isn't that you need to take a bunch of supplements, though in some cases supplements may be appropriate, especially if you have documented deficiencies. The point is that a balanced, nutrient-rich diet supports the complex biological processes of healing. Your immune system and healing mechanisms can only work with what you give them. Second, manage wounds appropriately. For minor wounds, keeping them clean and protected is important. The traditional advice to let wounds air out and dry isn't actually optimal. Modern wound care recognizes that a moist wound environment promotes faster, better healing. This is because keratinocytes, those skin cells that migrate across wounds, move much more easily across a moist surface than a dry one. This is why modern wound dressings are designed to maintain moisture while still allowing gas exchange. For significant wounds, or wounds that aren't healing as expected, seek medical attention. Sometimes wounds need professional care, thorough cleaning, possibly antibiotics if infected, or even surgical intervention in some cases. And if you have a wound that isn't showing clear signs of healing within a week or two, or that seems to be getting worse, definitely get it checked out. Early intervention for problem wounds is much more effective than trying to address them after they've become chronic. Third, be patient with healing. I know we live in an instant gratification world, but tissue regeneration takes time. Those phases we discussed, inflammation, proliferation, remodeling, they can't be rushed. In fact, trying to rush healing or interfering with the process, like picking at scabs, can actually slow things down or lead to worse outcomes. Trust the process. Your body knows what it's doing. Fourth, understand that scars are normal and often inevitable. Our culture sometimes treats scars as failures, as imperfections to be hidden or eliminated. But from a biological perspective, scars are success stories. They represent your body successfully closing a breach, fighting off potential infection, and restoring structural integrity. Yes, scar tissue isn't identical to the original tissue. Yes, sometimes scars can be problematic. But in most cases, scars are simply evidence that your body did its job. That said, there are things you can do to optimize scar appearance. Keeping wounds clean and properly moist during healing helps. Avoiding tension on healing wounds, which might mean using adhesive strips or being careful about movements that stretch the wound, can result in thinner scars. Once a wound has closed, protecting it from sun exposure is important because UV radiation can cause scars to darken and become more noticeable. Some people find that silicone gel sheets or scar massage helps improve scar appearance, though the evidence for these interventions is mixed. Fifth, recognize that some people are at higher risk for healing problems and need extra attention. If you have diabetes, vascular disease, immune disorders, or you're taking immunosuppressive medications, your wounds need more careful monitoring. If you're elderly, healing may take longer and be more prone to complications. If you have a history of keloid formation, you'll want to be especially careful about preventing injury and seek early treatment if wounds do occur. The psychological dimension of healing. There's another aspect of wound healing that's often overlooked but increasingly recognized as important: the psychological dimension. Your mental state, your stress levels, your emotional well-being, these aren't just abstract concepts floating in your mind. They have real, measurable effects on your immune system and therefore on healing. Numerous studies have shown that psychological stress impairs wound healing. In one famous experiment, researchers gave small standardized wounds to dental students either during summer vacation or right before major exams. The wounds inflicted before exams took significantly longer to heal. The stressed students showed altered cytokine profiles, with more pro-inflammatory and fewer pro-healing signals. Their immune cells responded differently to stimulation in laboratory tests. How does stress affect healing? Through several pathways. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline directly influence immune cell function. Chronic elevation of these hormones shifts immune responses in ways that can prolong inflammation and impair the transition to healing phases. Stress also affects sleep quality, and we know that sleep is when many healing processes are most active. Stress can influence behavior, leading people to eat poorly, exercise less, or engage in harmful habits like smoking or drinking excessively. But here's what I find really hopeful. Interventions that reduce stress can improve healing. Studies have found that techniques like meditation, guided imagery, and even just having good social support can speed wound healing. In one study, women recovering from breast cancer surgery who participated in a stress reduction program showed faster healing of their surgical wounds compared to a control group. This doesn't mean you can think your way to perfect healing, or that slow healing is somehow your fault for not being positive enough. That would be an unfair and inaccurate interpretation. But it does mean that taking care of your mental and emotional health is part of taking care of your physical health. They're not separate systems, they're deeply interconnected. The mind-body connection in healing also relates to the placebo effect, which is much more than just imagining you feel better. When people believe they're receiving effective treatment, real physiological changes occur. Their brains release endorphins and other molecules that can influence inflammation and pain. Their autonomic nervous system shifts in ways that can benefit healing. This isn't fake or imaginary. It's a demonstration of how expectation and belief can trigger real biological processes. This is part of why the doctor-patient relationship and bedside manner matter. When patients feel cared for, understood, and optimistic about their treatment, they often do better. It's not magic, it's neurobiology interacting with immunology. Cultural and historical perspectives on healing. Humans have been trying to understand and improve wound healing for as long as we've existed. Ancient medical texts from Egypt, Greece, China, and India all include treatments for wounds. Some of these traditional treatments seem bizarre by modern standards, applying dung, spider webs, or various plant poultices to wounds. But interestingly, some traditional remedies actually had scientific merit. Honey, used for wound treatment in many ancient cultures, actually does have antibacterial properties and can promote healing. Modern medical-grade honey is now used for certain types of wounds. Maggot therapy, which sounds medieval and gruesome, is actually an effective treatment for some chronic wounds because the maggots selectively eat dead tissue while leaving healthy tissue alone, essentially doing very precise debridement. Many traditional medicinal plants contain compounds that we now know can influence inflammation or promote healing. Turmeric contains curcumin, which has anti-inflammatory properties. Aloe vera has compounds that may promote keratinocyte migration. Tea tree oil has antibacterial effects. This doesn't mean all traditional remedies are effective. Many are not, but it shows that humans have long been experimenting with ways to help the healing process. What ancient healers didn't have was an understanding of the immune system, germ theory, or the cellular basis of healing. They were working from observation and trial and error. The fact that some of their remedies actually worked, even if they didn't understand why, is a testament to both human ingenuity and the power of empirical testing. The discovery of antiseptic technique in the 1800s by Joseph Lister was revolutionary. Based on Louis Pasteur's germ theory, Lister realized that many surgical complications were caused by infection, and that sterilizing surgical instruments and cleaning wounds with antiseptic solutions could dramatically reduce these infections. This was really the first scientific intervention in the healing process, even though Lister still didn't understand the cellular and molecular details. The discovery of antibiotics in the 20th century was another game changer. Suddenly, infections that would have been life-threatening became treatable. Wounds that would have led to sepsis and death could be managed. But even antibiotics work in partnership with the immune system. They reduce bacterial numbers, but your immune cells still have to finish the job of clearing infection and healing the wound. Throughout the 20th century, our understanding of wound healing advanced tremendously. The electron microscope let us see cellular details. Cell culture techniques let us study how different cell types behave. Molecular biology revealed the signaling pathways and gene expression changes during healing. Immunology explained the crucial roles of immune cells. We're now in an era where we don't just observe healing. We can measure it at the molecular level, understand its mechanisms, and increasingly intervene to improve outcomes. But even with all our knowledge, there's still so much we don't understand. The complexity of healing, the number of variables involved, means that we're constantly discovering new layers of regulation and new factors that influence outcomes. Special cases when healing is extraordinary. Let's talk about some special situations where healing behaves differently or faces unique challenges, because these scenarios really highlight the remarkable adaptability of the healing process. Oral wounds, wounds inside your mouth, heal faster than skin wounds and with less scarring. Why? The oral environment has unique properties. Saliva contains growth factors and antimicrobial compounds. The oral mucosa, the lining of your mouth, has a different structure than skin, with more blood vessels and different types of keratinocytes. The immune response in oral wounds is also different, with faster resolution of inflammation. Researchers are studying what makes oral healing special, hoping to apply those insights to skin wounds. Bone healing or fracture repair is another fascinating process. When a bone breaks, the initial response is similar to soft tissue wounds: blood clot formation, inflammation, cleanup of damaged tissue. But then something different happens. The body forms a callus, a sort of internal cast made initially of cartilage, which is then gradually replaced with new bone through a process called endochondral ossification. The immune system is crucial here too, with macrophages and other immune cells directing the process. If inflammation is too severe or too prolonged, bone healing is impaired, leading to delayed unions or non-unions where the bone fails to heal properly. Burns present unique challenges. Severe burns destroy large areas of tissue and disrupt the skin barrier, leading to massive fluid loss and high infection risk. The immune response to burns is often overwhelming, with excessive inflammation that can become systemic, affecting organs throughout the body. Burn wounds often heal with severe contractures and scarring. Modern burn treatment involves aggressive early removal of dead tissue, skin grafting to provide coverage, and careful management of the immune and inflammatory response. Despite advances, severe burns remain among the most challenging wounds to manage. Surgical wounds are interesting because they're intentional, controlled injuries. Surgeons try to create wounds that will heal optimally: clean edges, minimal tissue trauma, careful closure with sutures or staples that hold edges in perfect alignment. Even so, surgical wounds follow the same healing phases as any other wound. Complications like surgical site infections, wound dehiscence where the wound breaks open, or excessive scarring can occur. Understanding healing biology has improved surgical techniques and post-operative care tremendously. Fetal wounds, as I mentioned earlier, heal with minimal scarring, almost regenerating perfectly. This ability is lost partway through gestation. In early pregnancy, fetal skin wounds heal without inflammation, or at least with much less inflammation than postnatal wounds. They don't form the thick granulation tissue that characterizes later healing. Fetal fibroblasts seem to be in a different state, producing different ratios of collagen types and organizing them differently. Understanding what changes between fetal and adult healing is a major research focus, with the hope that we might reactivate fetal-like healing in adults. The future of healing, where are we headed? As we look to the future, what might wound healing look like decades from now? It's always risky to make predictions, but based on current research trajectories, we can imagine some possibilities. We may see truly personalized wound care, where treatment is tailored based on a patient's specific immune profile, genetics, and the molecular characteristics of their wound. Imagine taking a small sample from a wound, analyzing the cytokines and cell types present, and getting a precise readout. This wound is stuck in inflammation due to excessive neutrophil activity and inadequate M2 macrophage polarization. The treatment would then be specifically designed to address those issues. Smart wound dressings might become commonplace. bandages with embedded sensors that monitor the wound environment in real time and respond by releasing appropriate medications. A dressing that detects rising bacterial levels and releases antibiotics, or that senses excessive inflammation and releases anti-inflammatory compounds, or that monitors healing progress and alerts you and your doctor if things aren't progressing normally. We might have off-the-shelf cellular therapies, where standardized preparations of therapeutic cells, perhaps stem cells or specially programmed macrophages, can be applied to wounds to boost healing. These would be like living medicines, cells that integrate into the wound and actively participate in the healing process. Gene therapy could become safe and routine enough to use for difficult wounds. Temporary genetic modifications that enhance healing, then fade as the tissue matures. Or gene editing to correct underlying problems that cause poor healing, like in genetic disorders affecting collagen synthesis. Regenerative medicine might advance to where we can truly regenerate damaged tissue rather than just patching it with scar tissue. Growing new skin, muscle, even nerve tissue in the laboratory and implanting it, or providing conditions that coax the body to regenerate on its own. Some of this is already possible in limited forms. Future advances might make it routine. We might even learn to modulate the aging process in ways that preserve youthful healing capacity. If we can understand and counter immunosenescence, we might help elderly people heal as effectively as young people do. This would have enormous implications for quality of life and healthcare costs in aging populations. But with all these exciting possibilities come ethical questions. If we can enhance healing beyond natural levels, should we, who would have access to expensive advanced therapies? How do we balance innovation with safety, especially with interventions that modify immune function or genes? These aren't just scientific questions, they're societal questions that we'll need to grapple with. The beauty of imperfection. As we near the end of this journey through wound healing, I want to return to something I touched on earlier, the nature of scars. In our quest to understand and improve healing, to reduce scarring, to achieve perfect regeneration, let's not lose sight of what scars represent. Every scar on your body tells a story. Maybe it's a dramatic story of an accident or surgery. Maybe it's a mundane story of a childhood scrape. But each one is a record of a time your body faced damage and responded, mobilizing resources, fighting off threats, rebuilding what was lost. Scars are evidence of your immune system doing its job, of your cells working together in that remarkable coordinated dance we've been exploring. They're proof of your body's resilience, its ability to adapt and overcome injury. In a very real sense, scars are badges of survival. Different cultures have different relationships with scars. Some see them as shameful, as flaws to be hidden. Others see them as marks of experience, courage, or survival. Some deliberately create scars as forms of art or cultural identification. These varying perspectives remind us that our interpretation of scars is as much cultural and psychological as it is biological. From a purely biological standpoint, scars are compromises. They represent the body prioritizing speed and reliability over perfect restoration. In the wild, an animal that heals quickly and gets back to foraging or escaping predators, even with imperfect healing, survives. An animal that takes much longer to heal perfectly might not survive the vulnerable healing period. Evolution has optimized for functional restoration over perfect restoration. But scars are also limitations. They're weaker than original tissue, less flexible, less functional. For burn survivors with massive scarring or people with keloids that restrict movement, scars are not just cosmetic issues, they're medical problems affecting quality of life. So the drive to improve healing, to minimize scarring, comes from a genuine desire to reduce suffering and improve outcomes. Perhaps the ideal is a middle path, appreciating the remarkable healing capacity we do have while continuing to work on improving outcomes for those who need it. Recognizing that most scars are normal and not problematic, while developing better treatments for abnormal scarring. Understanding the biology deeply enough to intervene when necessary, while respecting the wisdom of evolved healing processes. Bringing it all together, the symphony of healing. So let's bring this all together. Let's summarize this incredible journey we've taken through the landscape of wound healing and the immune system's central role in it. From the moment of injury, your body responds with stunning speed and precision. Blood clots form within seconds, platelets aggregate and release signals that start calling for help. Within hours, neutrophils arrive in force, launching an aggressive assault on bacteria and debris. Macrophages follow, initially joining the inflammatory effort but then orchestrating the transition to healing. Throughout days and weeks, fibroblasts multiply and produce collagen, building new structural support. Blood vessels sprout and branch, supplying the growing tissue. Keratinocytes march across the wound surface, re-establishing the protective barrier of skin. And through months and even years, the tissue remodels itself, strengthening and reorganizing to better serve its function. At every stage, immune cells are directing the process. They're producing the growth factors that stimulate tissue formation. They're clearing away debris and dead cells. They're fighting infection. They're signaling when it's time to move to the next phase. They're maintaining balance, preventing both inadequate and excessive responses. This process relies on an intricate language of cytokines and growth factors, signals that communicate between cells, that activate and suppress different activities, that coordinate the efforts of dozens of cell types. It's a conversation happening at the molecular level, using words written in proteins and lipids, a language that cells across your body understand and respond to. The process is remarkably reliable. Most wounds do heal and heal well, but it's also vulnerable to disruption. Age, disease, nutrition, medications, stress, all of these factors can throw the process off balance, leading to chronic wounds or excessive scarring. Understanding these vulnerabilities helps us both appreciate normal healing and develop interventions for when healing fails. What strikes me most about wound healing is how it exemplifies the interconnectedness of biological systems. This isn't just your immune system working in isolation. It's immune cells communicating with blood vessels, with skin cells, with nerves, with fibroblasts. It's your nervous system influencing your immune system. It's your psychological state affecting your physiological healing. It's your nutrition providing the raw materials that cells need. It's your genes influencing how your cells respond, but also your environment and experiences shaping those responses. Wound healing is a whole body phenomenon, even when the wound itself is small and local. It draws on resources from throughout your body. It's influenced by your overall health and well-being. It affects you systemically, not just locally. This holistic view of healing is increasingly recognized in medicine, moving us away from a reductionist view that treats body parts in isolation toward an integrative view that recognizes complex interactions. A personal reflection. If you've stayed with me through this entire exploration, thank you. I realize this has been a deep dive, perhaps deeper than you expected when you first started thinking about how wounds heal. But I hope it's given you a new appreciation for what's happening in your body every day. Right now, as you listen to this, your immune system is patrolling your body, monitoring for damage and threats. Wounds you sustained days or weeks ago are in various stages of healing, with cells working diligently beneath the surface. Maybe you have scars from months or years past that are still slowly remodeling themselves at a microscopic level. This is all happening automatically, without you needing to think about it, without you needing to understand it. Your body knows what to do, but I think there's value in understanding, in pulling back the curtain and seeing the machinery of life at work. It makes us less take the miracle of healing for granted. It helps us make better decisions about caring for our health. It inspires awe at the complexity and elegance of biological systems. Every time I look at a healing wound now, or at a scar from an old injury, I think about all those cells working together. I imagine the neutrophils doing their aggressive cleanup, the macrophages orchestrating the transition to building mode, the fibroblasts laying down collagen fiber by fiber, the blood vessels sprouting new branches, the skin cells migrating to close the gap. I picture the cascade of signals, cytokines binding to receptors, genes being turned on and off, proteins being synthesized and secreted. It's like being able to see the code underlying a complex computer program, or the musical score underlying a symphony. The surface-level experience is enriched by understanding what's happening beneath. The scar on my knee from a bicycle accident years ago isn't just a mark on my skin. It's a record of a cellular drama that unfolded over months, a testament to my immune system's successful management of a healing crisis. The wonder of self-repair. One of the fundamental features of living things, one of the characteristics that distinguishes life from non-life, is the ability to maintain and repair themselves. A rock doesn't heal when you break it. A machine doesn't fix itself when it breaks, but living organisms do. This capacity for self-repair is woven into the very fabric of life. At the cellular level, repair is constant. DNA damage occurs all the time from normal metabolism, from radiation, from chemical exposure. But cells have elaborate DNA repair mechanisms that constantly scan for and fix these damages. Proteins get damaged and misfolded, but cells have quality control systems that refold them or break them down. Cell membranes get damaged, but they can reseal and replace damaged components. Tissue-level repair, wound healing, is an extension of these cellular repair mechanisms. It's your body applying those same principles: maintain integrity, fix damage, restore function, but at a larger scale and with greater complexity because multiple cell types have to coordinate. And in a sense, your whole life is a constant process of repair and maintenance. Every day you're breaking down and rebuilding parts of yourself. The cells lining your intestines turn over every few days. Your skin completely replaces itself every few weeks. Your red blood cells live for about 4 months before being recycled and replaced. Even tissues that don't turn over completely, like muscle and bone, are constantly remodeling at the molecular level. You're not a static entity. You're a dynamic process, a flowing river that maintains its form even as the water molecules constantly change. Healing, in this context, is just a more dramatic and visible version of the constant maintenance and renewal that defines life itself. The fact that this works, that trillions of cells can coordinate their activities to maintain and repair a human body over decades of life, is almost incomprehensible when you really think about it. The complexity is staggering. The reliability is remarkable. Yes, things go wrong sometimes. Yes, healing can fail. Yes, we accumulate damage as we age. But the fact that it works at all, that it works as well as it does, for as long as it does, that's the real miracle. Gratitude for the unseen army. So here we are at the end of our exploration. We've journeyed from the first moment of injury through months of remodeling. We've met the cellular cast of characters: platelets, neutrophils, macrophages, mast cells, fibroblasts, keratinocytes, endothelial cells, and more. We've learned about the molecular signals they use to communicate. We've explored what happens when healing goes wrong and what the future might hold for improving healing. But beyond all the scientific details, beyond the cellular and molecular mechanisms, I hope you take away something more fundamental: appreciation. Appreciation for your body's wisdom. Appreciation for the immune system that works tirelessly to protect and heal you. Appreciation for the evolutionary legacy that has equipped you with these remarkable repair mechanisms. Next time you get a cut or scrape, take a moment before covering it with a bandage. Look at it, think about what's about to unfold beneath that surface. An army of cells is mobilizing. Chemical signals are cascading. A complex, choreographed process is beginning that will, in most cases, restore what was broken. And when you look at a healed wound, a scar, recognize it for what it is: evidence of your body's success, a record of damage encountered and overcome, a small monument to the cellular cooperation and immune coordination that makes healing possible. Your immune system is always there, always working, often unnoticed and unappreciated. It fights infections, yes, and that gets most of the attention. But it's also orchestrating repair, maintaining tissue health, clearing away damaged cells, coordinating regeneration. It's one of the unsung heroes of your biology, and wound healing is one of its greatest performances. So here's to your immune system. Here's to the neutrophils that rush to your defense. Here's to the macrophages that coordinate healing with such sophisticated precision. Here's to the mast cells, the T cells, the platelets, and all the other players in this cellular drama. Here's to the cytokines and growth factors that carry messages between cells. Here's to the evolutionary processes that shape these mechanisms over millions of years. And here's to the scientists and clinicians working to understand healing better and develop new ways to help when healing fails. Every wound that heals is a small miracle, a testament to the incredible complexity and capability of living systems. Never take it for granted. Your body is working wonders every single day, keeping you whole, keeping you healthy, repairing the constant small damages that life inflicts. That's worth celebrating. That's worth understanding. That's worth protecting by taking care of your health, your immune system, and your overall well-being. The next time you see a healing wound, remember, you're watching life itself in action, cells cooperating, systems coordinating, biology working its ancient magic. And at the center of it all, conducting the symphony, is your immune system, the master healer, the protector, the restorer of what was broken. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the fascinating world of wound healing and the immune system's crucial role in this process of renewal, resilience, and life itself.